we're going to start with introductions. I'm very eager to introduce our guest of honor, Kevin. We'll talk a little bit about why Remind is being selected by many districts throughout the country as a communication platform, the strategies that Kevin used to successfully roll out Remind at his district, and then what we're both eager to start exploring with some of the new features that are coming up with Remind in the next few months. And then, of course, questions. So, introductions. Let's see. Kevin here. Are you able to, let's make sure we can hear you. Kevin, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. So let's, just a little bit, I mentioned that I am the success manager here at Remind. I'm working with Kevin and his district specifically. I'm a former teacher, also was a tech lead at my last building where I helped them bring Chromebooks on, and so kind of crossed over into the ed tech world over the last few years and have really loved working with districts and district admins like Kevin. Kevin is the director of technology at Pennsbury School District in Pennsylvania. He has previous experience as an instructional technologist, and before that was an applied tech teacher, but has really seen technology grow up in a lot of different ways over his career in education. So Kevin, I would love if you could tell us a little bit more about Pennsbury.
Sure. Pennsbury School District is located just a little bit north of Philadelphia in Bucks County. We have a little over 10,000 students across 17 schools, bargaining unit of 859 teachers with 671 support staff. The district is composed of 46 administrators. We do have a wide variety of income across our district, but the average for our free and reduced lunch is about 28.4%, with some buildings in the low single digits and other buildings approaching over 40% for that free and reduced lunch. Last year, we graduated 833 graduates, and 6 out of our 10 elementary schools are Title I schools. That's where the economic diversity of the district comes into play.
Really, really interesting mix. I'm sure there's a lot of vibrant things happening and different challenges. So eager to see how Remind is helping with some of those needs. Thanks for sharing. Great. And then can you tell us a little bit more too about why Remind seemed like a good fit for your communication needs at Pennsbury?
Sure. So what we were finding in our district was that we had teachers, coaches, any kind of club advisor. They were all scrambling for a way to communicate with their students in mass. And some were moving to social media using Twitter, others using Facebook, some using Instagram, others just frankly texting directly with students on their personal cell phones. We saw this as a big security risk. We wanted to be able to log the communication, not only to protect the students, but to also protect the staff members as well. While we were looking at different solutions, we came across that many of our district's employees were starting to explore, were already using Remind.com to communicate with their families in some sort of secure environment. However, us as central office were unable to really audit the logs, go through and look at what communications had really transpired. So trying to bring us into just one communication platform that would be acceptable for mobile communication, quick communication, we decided to partner with Remind because it was the best fit for our district that allowed us the ability to have that secure research or the ability to go back and read archived messages, and also to allow us to make sure that our coaches weren't off doing crazy things with the students and their personal cell phone numbers. We just wanted to protect everybody.
Great, great. Yeah, no, it seems like there's this need of, we can't avoid the fact that everyone's on mobile and that's the preferred, means of communication, and they're finding ways to do it. So how can the district support and make it secure and feel confident in the solution that they're using to bring everyone together on that preferred device? Cool. So this is a great segue into why Remind. For those of you who may not be familiar with Remind, I just wanted to take a quick step back and explain a little bit more about what the communication platform is, and give a little more insight into what Kevin was just talking about some of the ways that districts are using Remind. So it is, like I said, a communication platform that is really designed to help students, parents, teachers, everyone connect where they are, which is, we know, on a mobile device. So one and two-way communication is a key distinction. So it's not just sending out broadcasts, but it's really encouraging the connection and the relationships to build between students, parents, and teachers to support students on their mobile devices through texting, through messaging, and everyone's information is kept private. There are about 2.25 million teachers currently using Remind in the U.S. So that is, 95% of public school districts, which is really exciting, and Pennsbury is one. And what we found is that these districts who are, finding, like Kevin said, that teachers are already using Remind, that they're starting to investigate more about the plan, and that when you partner with Remind, there's increased functionality such as district-wide messaging, rostering to ensure you're reaching your entire community, and also, more visibility into that communication that's happening so that you can support best practices and really feel confident in the messaging that's happening in your district. We also have dedicated account managers like myself who are here to really support that rollout and ensure that everyone is trained and ready to go. So those are some of the advantages in the plan. So rostering, I briefly mentioned, but to elaborate a little bit here, really to extend your reach to beyond just what your teachers can kind of collect on their own and get in their classes, but syncing with your school information system so that you are bringing all of those really important connected people to Remind to make it easier for your teachers to use and make it easier for your parents to stay connected. And you can also get some important statistics on, messages that are being delivered, who's sending messages, so that visibility into the activity can help you drive more adoption, and also, ensure that this is really the tool that's working for your community. Lastly, and Kevin mentioned this too, just feeling like there is a level of confidence in who's using the tool. The administrator visibility gives you the access to see that activity, but also, make some adjustments if needed, request message history, all of that to make, so it's not just happening on your teacher's phones separately through text messages, you're getting that oversight that you need. So that there's got rid of that this piece of the webinar. So hopefully those of you who are not familiar with Remind have a better idea of what Remind is. So let's get into the exciting part here, really hearing Kevin's story about how Remind was successfully rolled out and continues to be rolled out at Pennsbury.
Sure. So we started rolling out Remind after our school board passed a policy of appropriate student boundaries, which really started to limit the tools that teachers were interacting with their students, again, so that the district could be protected, we could protect the students, and we could protect the teachers. So we have approved methods now of communication. So the teachers are required to use one of those approved methods, and one of them is being Remind if they want to contact children directly, or to have mass group communication. What we have found is that it allowed us to consolidate all the different means of which teachers, the district, buildings were all pushing out administration communication, and it just made it so streamlined that the staff, the parents, the teachers, everybody knew where to go for their different groups of communication and how to push out the messages to the various stakeholders of the groups that we had created. It also allowed the staff to realize that they were actually being backed by an application or backed by a product that the district was supporting, so that they were more comfortable with utilizing Remind in the application. If they were a little shy of it before, now they realize that they were not only going to be allowed to embrace the product, but that we were going to be able to provide embedded support in their classrooms and through real professional development, so that they can feel secure in using the app and making sure that they know exactly what they're doing before they started launching their Remind groups individually.
I love hearing that kind of, a partnership between the district's expectation, but also then making the staff feel more confident in the product too. Love that. Okay, moving on. So then once you got the buy-in, what was next?
Once we got the buy-in and we got all the approval, we started to push out to the community that, we are going to launch up this current school year with Remind as one of our official communication applications. What we did is we created some flyers, which we will show you in a little bit. And we also integrated our SIS into the system. We did that by utilizing Clever. The SIS sync went very well and was one of the smoother, Clever integrations that I've worked through. We do also have public and closed groups in Remind. The closed groups being a classroom group where it's just the students and the parents, versus a public group where we have community-wide groups that anybody in the community can sign up for. When somebody signs up for a public group, it could be someone that has children in the school, or just anybody really that wants to get alerts from Pennsbury School District of what's going on in the district. And we use that to push out important information. Once I'm sure we put out our first school closure district-wide due to inclement weather, that group will really grow rapidly, because what we are finding is not only did the SysSync help with getting parents and students to all register, but whenever we have an event or we need to push out an urgent message, we still use our traditional methods of communication, but we're finding that this has expanded the reach, and we use those public groups to hit as many individuals as possible that wanted to sign up to get the alerts from the school district when something's either going on or to share positive news.
That's great. I loved how you guys have done this customization of these different groups, and then also hearing about almost the fear of missing out, that if I'm not on Remind, I don't know what's going on, is definitely exciting to hear. So people found out through some virality, but how else? You guys did a great campaign around driving awareness.
When we send home our back to school letters, we included a lot of information about joining the different Remind groups that we had for the district. Those are the open public groups, and we have an example here of a flyer that we had available in the schools. And at back to school nights, we trained the principals, we trained the teachers at the start of the school year on how to use the application. And then we just started notifying the parents via flyers, emails, back to school nights. And as we continue to utilize Remind and communicate our messages out in that fashion, we're constantly seeing our list and subscribership build. And sometimes there's some questions that we need to assist our community members with and getting them signed up for Remind. But we have been told that it is a very easy process, and that they love getting the short, quick alerts once they sign up for the various groups that we had created. And these flyers were a big success that were handed out, and they were customized for every building so that everybody had their own little group that they could start to share out with their key stakeholders.
And now flyers can be sent in a Remind message.
That's
That's
right.
the beauty of it, right? Great. And so I know too, we've talked a bit about how it's important for yourself and other principals to really kind of set the tone and model some best practices as far as how to use Remind. And I know you guys have had a couple examples of that. Do you mind telling us a little more?
Sure. So we've used some district-wide messages. We try to use them few and far between, but to make sure that we put out important information, because we don't want to overuse the system so that, people view it as spam. But we use the district-wide messages to put out, again, those emergency communications or some really great news articles out there. We also have some families that do not speak English, and one of the great things that Remind is providing us is the ability within the app for the families to translate the message into their native language so that they can read the message, and as close of a translation as we're able to provide them. The piece that we are now currently growing on, and I'm seeing one of my middle school principals really utilize, is the message attachments. He's attaching things through Google, attaching PDFs. He's really pushing out attachments, files for different flyers or pictures, and really using it as a communication tool to push out positive news within his building. And we're hoping that he'll be able to share the way that he's using Remind with other buildings so that they can continue as well to use it as a great piece for public PR.
Love that. Yeah, it's so powerful for a school principal to have that channel to access community to say, hey, look at all the amazing things we're doing. Excited to hear how you guys can share that together. Great. So Pennsbury use cases. This is one of my favorite stories so far, Kevin. So I'll let you take the mic here and kind of walk us through it. But let us know tell us the story of the water main break.
So right in front of one of our elementary schools, right before the start of lunch, a water main broke in front of Eleanor Roosevelt. It's one of our elementary schools. We were unable to flush toilets. We were unable to water in our cafeterias, and our water fountains weren't working. So we had to quickly get the kids home. We did use our traditional method of sending home a phone call and sending home an email. However, the feedback that we received from this community was, I can't check my email or get the telephone call during work. So they were able to get the text messages that we were able to push out through Remind, and that was the quickest way that the messages were getting out. We were hearing from families that they got the Remind message up to 10 minutes earlier than the phone calls and the emails, and we used Blackboard Connect. What that shows us is that this was the best way to get the message out there. We were told that about 80 to 90% of all families preferred to get the message that way. And when you're talking about kindergarten to fifth graders, when they're coming home on such quick notice, the quickest way we can get the message so that childcare can be provided was through the text message, and that was extremely important to make sure the safety of our kids was there. This happened, I had to dismiss that school within about 30 minutes of this activity happening.
Wow. Anything can happen running the school, right? So it's great to see that not only you got the positive feedback, but that, results were where you needed them to be. So this is another story that you want to share too, Kevin?
Yeah, one of our principals does our normal daily phone call out through our phone system that your child is absent. However, instead of selecting only the children that were absent that day, the office staff accidentally sent home to every student in the elementary school that their child was missing, which caused a little bit of mass craziness in the main office as families were calling to locate their children. The quickest way, once again, to get the message out to the families was through a remind message, because the phone call was still going out. They didn't get in touch with me in time to stop it. So they put it out over Remind, and that eased the parents very quickly. The principal was very thankful to have the ability to text, and this is now her favorite way to communicate with families, and she tries to avoid the phone system when at all possible.
There's more confidence in Remind for you than the phone right there. That's unfortunate that the phone system did that, but glad there was a solution. Which kind of brings me, or I guess let's hear a little bit about, you've shared some principal anecdotes. I love just kind of showing these quotes real quick. You know, I think the parent feedback is also really important to note. But it sounds like the community is really responding well.
The parents, as I said, they're preferring to get the messages over text. As you can read on the screen, you know, they love the real-time posting, the apps, and the reminders. They say it makes their life easier, and it helps keeping them on track because when they're using the app, they're getting all the information in one place, and they're able to keep themselves organized. So the positivity of adopting it district-wide so that the parents aren't going to various locations to get their information and just focusing on Remind, either getting as a text or within the app, has really allowed the communication flow to continue and to be organized in a manner that is effective for our community. It's just been phenomenal what we've heard from parents across the district, even from kindergarten families up to those that have high school, and the kids are getting the alerts as well when they sign up using their phones. So it's just been, again, very, very positive feedback.
Great. Love to hear that. So what's next? I know, Kevin, you and I have been talking about some of the exciting new things coming on the roadmap here at Remind. And one of those, I think, is specific to kind of fixing and solving the problem of the absentee message gone wrong, as far as automated messages that can be sent out on a daily basis automatically with regards to things like absences, low lunch money, and so forth. I know we've been talking about how you might use that. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about what you're thinking here?
Yes, we're looking to use that as a text message to let the parents know that their child is absent. We're also looking at a way to quickly upload a CSV of student IDs if a bus is running late so that we can send the message out to the parents. We're really trying to get to use Remind and texting as the quickest way to get a hold of the parents because that seems to be where they want to be. They want to get that little, you know, ding on their phone, short, quick message, but they understand what's going on so that there's not any questions where the bus is, that they're aware that we did mark Johnny absent because he wasn't there that day. So we are very much looking forward to having that ability to just upload a CSV and send a file or send a message so that the student and the families are aware what's going on.
Yeah, I'm excited to work with you to see what kind of impact these messages will have, or these automated messages will have on those different use cases. So eager to get that going. So we're at time, and I know we have some questions. Kevin, thank you so much for elaborating and telling your story about how Remind has worked for Pennsbury. I want to make sure we have, you know, for those of you who are able to hang around to cover a few questions. One was a question with regard to how to use Remind for weather-related or school closures. I know, Kevin, we were just talking about that. This is happening soon for you guys, right?
Yes. We are going to be posting our emergency alert closings through Remind at the overall level. We anticipate that message getting out way quicker than our phone call and email system. What we find being in the suburbs of Philadelphia, everybody seems to be using the same calling systems, and we all close at the exact same time. Sometimes that message can take 20 to 40 minutes to get out to all families when we send it out at 5 a.m. We are anticipating not having those same problems with Remind. We think that that will also help increase our subscribership to the Remind groups once we get our first emergency closing due to snow, and the message gets out that way first.
Got it. Well, the that time of year, so glad you guys can use Remind for that too. Another question I see here is, can I see the current Remind usage from my district right now? Like how many are using Remind within my district? And yes, absolutely you can. This is information that you can request in the exit poll. So we'd be happy to share your district usage stats with you. Just click on that exit poll and let us know who you are, or if you'd like to get that usage, and we'll send it your way. Additionally, in that exit poll, there are some other questions, and you can please feel free to answer them, and then shoot us any other questions you might have. We'll follow up with those after the webinar. But I know everyone's super busy this time of year, so I want to be cognizant of time, and especially your time, Kevin. Thank you so much again for joining us, and thank you all who have spent the time to learn more about Remind today. We're eager to continue the conversation. Thank you. Talk to you later, Kevin.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.